10 people with real life superpowers. We're counting down starting with number 10. Motherfuckers. Ingo Swann and remote viewing. Remote viewing is the ability of a person to describe a remote geographic location up to several hundred kilometers from their actual physical location. It's not just one person who would do this, but multiple human beings. And this is a verified fact. The CIA and NSA, as well as Stanford University, as well as many other scientific organizations, were involved in the scientific study of this parapsychological phenomenon, which lasted over 2 decades. In these experiments, multiple individuals were able to describe distinct objects that were located in a separate room or at other remote physical locations that were not where their body was at. As reported by the publication in Journal of Scientific Exploration, one of the study's participants, Ingo Swann, was able to successfully describe and view a ring around Jupiter that scientists had no idea existed at the time. Ingo has gone on to write about remote viewing on the moon and other strange anomalies within the realm of parapsychology. Number 9. Uri Geller and psychokinesis. Another great example comes from the work of aerospace engineer and physicist Jack Hoke. He was responsible for holding a number of sessions to test the validity of psychokinesis, which basically is when you move objects with your mind. In these experiments, he had the attendees initiate their own psychokinesis events using various metal objects. Individuals were instructed to bend or contort the metal with no physical force applied whatsoever. There have been reports of mostly children being able to teleport full physical objects from one location to another. One notable individual was Uri Geller, the psychic, who gave a talk at the U.S. Capitol building and caused a spoon to curve upward with no force applied. The spoon then continued to bend after he put it back down and resumed speaking. I personally think the whole thing is a complete hoax, but people will cite the quantum double slit experiment, which is a very well-known physics experiment that describes the peculiarity of how light travels and functions in waves and strange quantum entanglements. And they argue that this is somehow linked to Uri Geller's task. I just call BS. I think they're non-related things. And who gives it? I mean, there is maybe some truth in this whole thing, but like at the point where you can barely bend a knife, what use is this really? I mean, quite honestly, stop marveling. I think people overemphasize and over marvel at stupid things when the world is filled with magical things that are doing great things to the world that we've taken for granted and accepted as science, even though it is pretty much magic, even though there's science backing it up. An example would be the whole fact that we can fly through the air on airplanes or turn off and on lights with the flick of a switch. Number 8, Stephen Wiltshire. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. However, he was able to draw and paint detailed cityscapes. He's most known for his ability to accurately represent an entire city for seconds and then depict them with remarkable precision. This man is still very well known and he's cited as a genius. And to this day, that's what he does. He goes around, flies over a very complex, intricate landscape like a city, and then he paints the whole thing when he lands. And this is something that's very common with autistic people. They just seem to have very remarkable abilities despite their limited social skills because of autism. Number 7, Wim Hof, aka Iceman. This guy is probably one of the more well-known people. He's often in the Guinness World Records, and he's pretty well known in terms of human superpower ability. Basically, this guy is able to stay submerged in ice for almost 2 hours without any drop in core temperature. And he's pretty much able to do anything in extremely cold environments, such as maintain his core body temperature in harsh environments like Mount Everest, or compete in a marathon in the Namib Desert with no water, or sit in a laboratory where there is absolute freezing temperatures. And the craziest part is experiments measured his internal body temperature during all this, and it stayed flat. And I would chalk that up to a genetic variation. That's what humans do. We have genetic variation, which causes all sorts of awesome superpowers, and sometimes deformities, which are kind of how things work. You add deformities and you keep adding them if it's advantageous for your environment until eventually they become new things. That's why some people have webbed feet, because in the rare case that we need to submerge ourselves into the ocean again, it leaves the door open for us to evolve to do that. Number 6, Buddhist monks. During a visit to the remote monasteries in the 1980s, Harvard professors, including Herbert Benson and his team of researchers, found a bunch of very peculiar monks in the Himalayan mountains. Now, what was so unique about these people? They were able to raise the temperature of their fingers and toes by as much as 17 degrees. Some people chalk this up to as some type of advanced meditation skills from Indian practices. However, there's been plenty of information saying that this has been the case. Subsequent numerous studies from Harvard research teams have shown videos of monks drying cold, wet sheets with body heat alone, and monks spending winter nights 15,000 to 20,000 feet at the top of a mountain. People call this chi or energy or chakra. Is it, or is it simply a form of human thermal regulation from training? I don't know. Number 5 is Daniel Tammet. He gained a lot of public attention in the last 5 to 10 years because of his intricate memory. He was able to memorize pi to 22,404 decimal places, which took 5 hours and 9 minutes without error. And this was because of his autistic savant syndrome. And basically what this allows him to do is, like autistic people, have very exceptional cognitive abilities. But at the same time, he has a form of synesthesia, which pretty much means that he experiences numbers with a bunch of senses, not just his eyes. He smells them, he hears them, and it helps him remember things. Although this is really cool, and I really feel a bit of pity for him, and as well as respect and applause, because he's doing so much, probably making more than all of us. However, it's one of those things where it's one of those examples that just because you're really, really smart or you can memorize something to 22,000 digits, is that really the most applicable and useful skill in the real world? Probably not, and I'm guessing he's not a billionaire either. Number 4, Prahlad Jani. This is a man who can supposedly survive without any food or water. He's a devotee of the Amba Mata style of living, and he says he hasn't had a morsel of food since 1940. And people call him one of India's unsolved mysteries. He was once locked in a room for 10 days for observational studies, where it was found he was perfectly healthy without food and water. For me personally, I think this story is a bit fishy. I think it's just, there's no possible way. He's probably sneaking it somehow. If he's not, that's pretty incredible though. Number 3, Ratha Krishnan Velu, the Tooth King. So this guy's kind of nasty, really. I don't know why people are entertained by this. I would never pay for this. I'm grossed out by it. But basically, he hooks up pretty much anything he wants to a teeth and pulls it. Mr. Velu pulled a 7-coach train with a steel rope on one end and one of his teeth hooked onto the other. He holds a Guinness World Record for this unexplained ability. That's just kind of disgusting in my opinion. I'm just guessing his tooth is really rooted into his gums, and he just uses his whole body in good form to do that. A guy's got to make a living. It's a competitive world. I'm guessing this guy is just, he's doing his best, and I hope he doesn't get injured from it. Number 2, Kevin Richardson, the Lion Whisperer. You've heard of the cat whisperer or dog whisperer, maybe. This is the lion whisperer. Basically, you know, Kevin Richardson is kind of like the king of the jungle. While other people, if they get close to a lion or a tiger or lion or liger or tie-in, they'll probably get mauled or killed. This man, since he's just like spent so much time with lions or however he's done it, he's very cognizant of them. People call it that he's speaking to lions, or he's like a lion whisperer or cat whisperer. But in reality, I just think what it is he understands their psychology, their behavior, the animalistic and tribal pack mating and survival rituals, and he's very, intelligent in that field and able to socially navigate those. And because of that, he's able to sleep and dance with these lions and tigers with no problem. Number 1, Ben Underwood. This man has the power of sonar vision. So he's basically blind, and he's made up for that by using echolocation. Ben has the ability to pretty much see like you do, kind of like Neo from the Matrix, but he does it using his mouth. And basically, he's able to do anything a normal kid is: running, basketball, bicycle riding, football, and everything else, but he can't see. He's blind. And essentially, there's been a lot of people like this, and the essential idea behind it is every 5 to 10 seconds, they'll make a very loud clicking sound just once with their mouth. It takes some training, but it literally sounds like a gunpowder crack. It's really loud. But that crack kind of echoes out and then comes back, and the speed with which it comes back differs depending on all the different directions you send it. And so they use this very similar to how a bat does it, and they're able to judge spatial differences and spatial movements. It's a very interesting thing, and apparently if you do it right, some of the most skilled people in the world at it, if they do it once, they can literally feel and sense the entire room instantly. Obviously, this gets much harder when there's a ton of people talking or it's a very crowded place. Having said that, arguably it's not, because their sounds will bounce off the walls and you can kind of understand it. For us who can see, it's very tough to understand, but you have to realize once you go blind, your other senses will accentuate. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button right below this video and hit that little icon, that bell or that notification icon, which will let you know after you hit that subscribe button when I upload free videos. And since this is a young, new, growing channel, your comments and feedback will be taken into account, and I will pick a suggestion or idea for the next video. So if you are a subscriber and you want a specific video made, go ahead and leave a comment and I will take your feedback into account. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.